And next, we have some rather more mature talent. I first met our next speaker in Birmingham about 15 years ago, before I ever imagined that one day I'd be good enough to become a Liberal Democrat MP. Paddy was meeting with the supposed movers and shakers of Birmingham, and I managed to get an invite to come along. He strode into the room, threw off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and sat on his chair the wrong way round. That was it. I was besotted, I was gone. And he's been an inspiration to me ever since. Where is he? There he is. Paddy Ashdown!
I'm sure I've seen you lot somewhere before. So I was just thinking about it earlier on today. I think this is the first conference speech I've given since I stood down as leader. Aren't you just a lucky lot? Well, this speech is going to start with Shakespeare and end with Oliver Cromwell. You get a better class of speech at the Liberal Democrats. Shakespeare has someone say, and Hamlet I think, our sorrows when they come not as single spies, but in battalion. And you know, I think that is true today as we approach this election in a way which it has not been true probably since the Second World War. This time our votes are not going to be about our futures. There's something much bigger than that. I think we now face four great, simultaneous, existential threats to our livelihoods, to our democracy, to our conduct of our world, and perhaps even to our survival itself. Our great Liberal forebear, William Beveridge, would probably have called them the four giants that bar the way to a successful and prosperous future, not just for us, but for our children. The first, of course, we all know, is the one everyone's talking about. It's the economic crisis that we now face. The bills for this have yet to come in. Britain's mountain of public and private debt now threatens to swamp us and to wreck our economy. Now, I'm not saying that we were wrong to take the action that we did. We had no choice. If Britain had followed the Tories and done nothing, we would already be in this country in the depths of a depression to match the 1930s. But the question now is not, how did we get here? The question is, what do we do next? And the answer to that, fellow Liberal Democrats, is that in the next few months, we, Great Britain, have to make the most difficult economic judgment of at least half a century. Repay our debt too slow, and the markets lose confidence, the pound tumbles, interest rates will rise, and Britain will totter on the edge of bankruptcy. But repay that debt too fast, and we will put this fragile recovery back into an even deeper recession, leading to a depression. Now, here's the question that people should face. Who do we trust to make that judgment right, that crucial, difficult judgment right? Do we trust the Tories, who launched this tidal wave of unregulated greed back in the 1990s? Do we trust young Mr. Osborne, who got it so disastrously wrong last year when he said we should do nothing?
I don't know what this cable is.
Gordon Brown and Labour. Do we trust them? They could have stopped it, but they didn't. They should have seen it coming, but they failed. Britain knows very well that there's only one person who saw it coming, who got the judgments right, and that's the Liberal Democrat. The only person who can be trusted to get the next judgments right is a Liberal Democrat. And we all know who he is. You only get Vince Cable if you vote Liberal Democrat. There is no other way to do it. But, you know, we do not just face, as we know, an economic crisis. We face a political one too. This is not just about MPs' expenses. They are the symptom, not the disease. The disease, as we Liberal Democrats have been warning for years, is the rottenness at the heart of our whole political system. You know, what Britain needs now is not tinkering, not just putting our house in order. What we need is a new great reform act, a new settlement which reconnects people with power in our country. Let me tell you what it should mean. It means that Westminster should do far less, and then it might do it far better, and perhaps even with half the number of MPs. And much of Westminster's power should be handed down to the nations and the communities of our country. And if it were, then I have no doubt at all that the decisions which govern our lives would be much better too. Labour don't offer that. And the Tories? Well, they're the Tories. They've never wanted to change power. They just want to inherit power. The crisis in our politics demands radical solutions. And you're only going to get that by voting Liberal Democrat at the next election. But the giants that confront us, that threaten us, are international too. We live now in an increasingly interdependent world, and that could be a great threat to us if we cannot change the way we think as well as the way we govern. You see, there is now no thing which we would like our citizens in Britain to have which cannot be better delivered by working with international partners than working solely within our national parliaments. Not a strong economy, not new jobs, not low mortgages, not a healthy society, not clean air to breathe, not crime-free streets. We understand that. But the Tories do not understand that. They are now, as never before, a party of Little England. More deeply, more viscerally, more irrationally anti-European than any British political party in modern history. And I tell you this, that will break them in the future, just as it has broken them in the past. But much more important than that, it will cripple their ability to do in government what is in our country's best interests. Labour. Well, Labour was once a great internationalist party. But you know, as I know, and the people of Britain know, they lost that when they made themselves the cat's paw to George Bush's neo-imperialism. But internationalism runs deep in our blood. It is in the marrow of our bones. If you believe, as we believe, that no government can lead our country successfully unless it understands the internationalist character of the world in which we live, then the only way to achieve that is to vote Liberal Democrat at the next election. I do not need to tell you guys, I do not need to tell you about the last challenge that confronts us, for we have been warning of it long, long before it became popular to do so. Global warming is probably the greatest moral, practical and political challenge of our age. It will kill far, far, far more than terrorism. And that challenge won't be met by the old dinosaurs of Labour. And it won't be met by those who think that going green is being photographed driving huskies in a Christmas snowsuit, or cycling to work while your limo carries your briefcase. If you want a party in Parliament that understands what must be done, that has proved its commitments long before it was fashionable to do so, then you only are going to get that at the next election by voting Liberal Democrat. Oliver Cromwell once said to his russet-coated captains, "What ye fight for, love what ye know." As we go out to campaign under Nick Clegg's leadership over the next few weeks, a focus in our hands and fire in our belly. Be inspired by those words and by this fact. Britain only has a chance of confronting those four great giants of our time if we Liberal Democrats are strong in the next Parliament. It is up to us now to make it so. Good luck. Good campaign.